pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I got a message from Phil. He thought he was going to be able to be here, but he is not going to be here. Adam, why don't you lead off?
I apologize, I don't have the reports printed out for you guys, I'll have those tomorrow. For the month of September, call volume is a little down from last year, ended up 193.91s, averaging out to 6.4 a day. Times are within standard, we were dispatched in or out in 0.9 minutes on average. Average scene time was 15 minutes, so everything looked good for the month. No real major issues to speak of. My staffing issues, I've actually hired 2 this week, so we're getting there. Like I said, still a lot better than most places. I'm looking to hire a 3rd one this week. I've got another interview tomorrow, so if that pans out, we will be back to where I'm gonna put it that way. Brought an issue to Jeff's attention this
We were going to
past
talk
week.
about that.
I would just say we have spoken further and it is on better terms than what it was.
I was going to go into that too, because it has to do with personnel.
Yeah,
We were
but-
going to discuss it.
Just wanted to say it's
Okay.
better.
I'll brief you on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy,
Good morning.
good morning.
Well, Adams might have been slower, but we had a busier month than normal, so we had 62 calls, which is busy for us. So
62?
62, and Horizon took a couple, so we actually had 64 calls in the area. So we've had some interesting calls. Had a couple house explosions. So one in Newman, one in Chrisman. Appreciate Adam sending a crew up and help us set up an LZ because fire departments were busy for some odd reason. So, but other than that, times are doing well. And trying to get into the schools, so talking with them. So
Any questions of Jeremy? Thank you.
You said you were trying to get into schools, you mean? what?
just to talk with them, you know, do a little PR.
Okay,
Promote. We are trying to set up some sort of training at Shiloh, but it's probably not going to happen this year.
mhm.
So
All right. Kevin, did you want to address the board?
Yeah, if you don't care, I mean, really, I just want to say thanks for letting, shortlisting me on the jail project. It didn't go my way, and that's fine. But we do other things as a company, as far as transportation, bridges, road work, of course, all types of architecture. So I brought Jeff some literature, and I brought plenty of my cards, and I just want to say thanks. And I'd sure like to do something for your community. I travel southwest Indiana. I come into Illinois some, not much, but I do like this community, and I like, kind of feels like home around here. It kind of feels like, back in Knox County where I'm from, Vincent. So, I just want to say thanks. And I'm that type of guy. I mean, if I can't win them all. If I did, I'd be retired. But I do appreciate you guys' time and your niceness to me and my company. So with that, we're about halfway done with our harvest down in Knox County, and it's all going real well. So
Mhm.
we're doing good. But that's really all I wanted to say.
I was up by the Minden County Jail, they making good progress up
Oh,
there.
yeah. Yeah, it's coming right along.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you, Kevin.
You're more than
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Do you want to?
Hey, if he's leaving, I'm leaving too.
All right.
All right, thanks
Thank
again,
you.
you guys. Appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Amanda and I have been communicating back and forth, and she's prepared to give us a year-end summary of the summer program, or at least an update.
Okay.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Obviously the numbers aren't as good as last year. If you wanna go ahead and pass that off. This year, if you remember, we were not able to deliver, so, people had to actually come to the facility. If you see, the rec number of meals served was 1810. Hopes and Dreams was 73. In the middle, I would probably say end of June, we found that for some reason the Hopes and Dreams facility was not working out the best that we determined. So we moved it to On the Tracks Cafe, and so people were able to go in there and sit and eat, and and so it kind of did a little bit better. And you can see those numbers were 424. So those were the meals served, and then you can see on the other side the meals that were bought. So we had to, buy these certain amount of meals for that day, and then hope that those kids showed up. So there's a little bit of a difference. On the other side, you can see like what we paid. OTTC is On the Tracks Cafe, and then what was reimbursed from ISBE. Because I didn't know if you had sent the other paper. So on that top, that is a $5 reimbursement. And that's what I had sent previously to Lisa before I actually did the numbers with my staff. We really don't get $5 reimbursements. That's what we pay, but we don't get that back. So we only get $4.56. So that I put that down there because I was like, man, I want to make sure that it's clarified that not that you would ever see it, not that you would know, but these are the true numbers. But yeah, other than that, like I said, I think it went really well. Again, I was a little disappointed. But it wasn't just Edgar County. Douglas County, we really didn't see the amounts that we did when we delivered as well. I don't know transportation. The bus, I thought that it went out, but I don't know how much that picked up. I was kind of trying to stay out of it as much as possible, but I kind of still discussed a little bit. But like I said, our bus system in Douglas County goes to each individual's home and picks them up. So that was a little bit better. We got a little bit more numbers that way. But we were still transporting people from Villa Grove all the way into Tuscola and stuff like that. So,
Can you tell me approximately how many individuals they served?
that's
This is the number of meals?
yeah, right. And we could.
You don't really know. You don't have.
That
information.
is true. I can go back and double check with you on that. They can get seconds. Yeah, and I don't know if these.
But you don't know the
are-
number. Do you know the number of children?
No, but I
Okay.
would if you can.
Yeah,
give
that
me,
was what was more
Okay.
interesting to me, not necessarily than.
unduplicated children.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I know there were. It seemed like when I was doing, because I had to come and do some inspections and stuff, and I know there was 5 or 6 that were pretty, consistent. Now the rec, they were looking at, I think it was probably around 30 a day, so 30 kids at the rec. But again, truly hitting the needs of the individuals that should be receiving this. I don't know that we did that, and I don't know how. I don't know what we could do better. I don't know. But yeah, when I saw Hopes and Dreams and On the Tracks Cafe, you're probably talking 7 to 10.
Okay. So are there other costs that you're gonna need our assistance on? or
No,
not?
and because you guys already covered, I think DI supply and the bus, and you guys, you covered a lot.
And you've been reimbursed for that already?
No, we didn't do any of that. They should have gone to the board.
Don't know how that was paid for.
I
Yeah,
don't,
I haven't seen it.
I didn't think we've seen anything, so if somebody's sitting there with some bills that need to be paid,
Let us know.
Yeah,
okay, cause.
that was gonna be my question, because we haven't
You
gotten,
haven't seen anything from DI Supply, okay. I,
have you?
Don't know how would it have come through?
Well, it'd go to Augie's office,
Okay,
and then
Okay,
Augie
I-
would've called me and go, where do you want this out of?
yeah,
I will double check, I don't think that we paid that,
Unless it we thought it was another bill and paid it.
yeah, unless it's.
You know, we get DI supply all the
That's
time.
what-
Yeah, that's
For
what I was.
all of our paper
All your
products,
paper, yeah.
I mean, everywhere. So it's possible it might have come in through
they
there,
just sent a
but
bill.
Well, I know, I don't remember what all was said, but when Hopes and Dreams, when she was here, we said, we would help them out. Would they have
what they-
got the bills and didn't send them out, Was it
I
Stacy?
can't imagine
That's
them
who
being
was-
able to afford it,
Yeah, Stacy
that's what I
was
gonna
here.
say.
yeah.
Cause I remember they set up the buses. We just need to do some follow-up on
Okay,
that.
and I can help as much as you would like me to,
So as far as buses, we haven't paid anything on.
and I don't know how much,
Either.
I don't know how much they were utilized. I know they came to Hopes and Dreams, during those times, but I don't know if they took anybody to the, on the Tracks Cafe, I'm not for sure.
I remember talking to Phil back when they were doing it, and he said they'd go to a lot of the stops and there wouldn't be anybody
Yeah.
there. And I know he said they were doing it for a reasonable price.
Yeah, I'm sure, I
Yeah.
think Ball Transfer, yeah, Michelle
Right.
and Scott were,
Right.
yeah, very.
So we'll do some follow-up, can you get a hold of Stacy and see if she knows where, because, that was who we had contact with and told her to, let us know whatever you need.
Yeah, I apologize. I wish I had better news because, like I said, it is a great program. I don't know if it was after COVID. I have no idea what, but our numbers were down as well this year, and it just, I don't know, just unless you go to their house and get in their bed, drag them under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
sometimes.
but I know that you and maybe Stacy too, probably not Stacy, but you had discussed the fact that you couldn't really measure success before just because you dropped the meal off didn't mean it was
Absolutely.
eaten.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Lud said.
Yes, and he
Because
said he'd
there are
see you on
times
the
he'd see him,
porch.
he'd go by and drop him off and then come by that evening and still be
Still
sitting
be
on the
there,
porch.
yeah, no,
This
absolutely.
is something that needs to be coordinated with the school, so you can almost set something up by the end of the year with the school identifying who could utilize that, and I don't know, I'm just trying to,
And yes, yeah, you can. I know, for instance, Shiloh, some of the other schools around, they do a program, it's the same summer food program. Again, not gonna say it's the best, but they actually have, like, at the end of the week or the beginning of the week, they have a week's worth of food that they come and get, and it's frozen, and it's, refrigerated, whatever, and so you come and get this huge, kind of like food pantries almost, but in the schools. So again, less time consuming, but yeah, so there are all kinds of different things out there that can be done. But again, unfortunately, it takes participation and effort from families and stuff, and so, I wish I could, you let me know, I'll try to help as much as I can.
Well, if reimbursements need to be made, we need to,
So tell me, when I communicate with Stacy, what are my directions to her?
well, if we committed to helping them with transportation and
supplies.
supply.
It was, yeah.
So we need to get,
Make sure that.
we need receipts, and
So,
then we will reimburse them, or if there's bills, I guess we need copies if they've already
Okay.
been reimbursed, we need copies of what might have been paid by accident,
okay, and those she needs to communicate with Augie?
please.
Okay.
Yes,
No, sure.
yeah.
And I guess, is this, you're asking us,
No, I
you're
mean,
just showing us?
I'm just, it's
Alright.
fine,
Okay,
yeah,
Okay.
it's
Well,
kind of
who's picking up
nominal.
those shortages?
It's fine, we can find some funding,
Well-
yeah, I know, but I feel bad,
It's-
and it's not, I mean, it's
It's
nominal.
about $2,000, don't you? have
No,
this?
no, it would,
Could be
no,
1,000.
it would be
It's the
1,000,
bottom,
yeah.
top,
But we
bottom number.
stand ready to do that.
I know, and I appreciate that,
I suggest we
oh,
do that too.
thank you.
And that would be to,
The Douglas County. Amanda Minard. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Douglas County Health Department.
and I guess for next year, looking for the future, I know, Lisa, I assume you're talking with your board to see if maybe the Edgar County Health Department.
Oh, I'm
is
sure at some
involved.
point that will come up again, yes.
they have been.
But, got a little bit of time, but, you know, we can't wait too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just let us know and we'll be willing to help any way we can.
Okay.
We appreciate everything that you've done
Oh.
for,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Edgar County.
Well, you guys have been great as well. Great to work with.
Ready to move on? Are you hanging around for anything in particular?
You guys need anything from me?
No, I mean, you're welcome to stay.
Didn't know if I needed to for anything
No.
further.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good.
Fine.
Take care. Andy?
I got with you last week. That's
You
today,
might
Tuesday, they
You
hope.
could share with everybody what you and I talked about. I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Well, we'll do that later. I'm still working that, it's.
Oh, not that.
Okay,
I meant,
but, they got the, electricity, Gore was up there, whatever whatever they call that, going underground, fix the electrical box.
Right.
And they fix the electrical line, and they got ready to hook it into the box, and one of the boxes, he was
burned up.
all burned up inside. Which I wanna get up there later today and talk to them and find out why it was all burned up inside, but, so they ordered new ones, so if anybody that drove around noticed the lights were out at the courthouse on the lawn, because he didn't wanna turn that box back on, he wanted to make sure that it's supposed to be in today, and they're gonna replace it today, so the lights will be back on and everything will be fixed correctly, but, and he said while Gore was there, I don't know if you recall what we done, remember when the Augie, the plumbing line, I don't know, you may have seen him out there doing some stuff, the plumbing
Yeah.
got plugged up and got it cleaned out, and they were supposed to check that plumbing line, and they left that open there kind of up at the corner. It's around where the electric pole is, but it's right in the corner there. And anyway, Ray Cordy talked to me, and he said that while Gore was up there, he ran his camera down through there and identified what we were gonna have the city do at one point. Anyway, they got that taken care of too, he said. So, anyway,
Did they send you the schedule on the moving of and putting in the new air handlers and
yeah,
stuff?
a lot of stuff, they're having trouble getting
Right,
stuff,
but they're still
There's-
hoping to be done by,
yeah.
mid-November.
Yeah, and it's not, it's like pieces. There's part of the framing that holds the thing in here, and then the outside units haven't shown up yet.
Right. I shoved that all the way back into next year's budget after we checked with them,
Okay,
so it's
So that'd
not
be-
gonna be.
it won't be, cause that's gonna be, they're gonna have to have been done here and pretty quick in order to get it.
Well, it doesn't matter, it works better if we have it in the next year's
Yeah.
budget anyway.
Okay. I guess that's all done.
Catman,
Meeting at noon today, so I have some things probably to discuss.
have you had any people apply for,
She hadn't said no, so I don't know. I haven't been able to get hold of her.
She's had people,
I see, no,
she's talked to some people.
okay, good.
We'll find out about that.
All right,
Hoping we would.
I'll let you know after the meeting,
Is the place full?
always.
All right. Russ, anything?
No.
Augie?
No.
Carl?
Last week, we had a meeting with the sheriff and his staff to talk about budget. I can't remember what we discussed when we had our meeting, but he had a request for an additional deputy, additional jailer, and an additional dispatcher. And after we had our discussions, we're not going to add another deputy. We're not going to add another,
Telecommunicator?
dispatcher at our expense. We told him basically that if 911 wanted to pay for that additional person, that if they're willing to pay for that, the full amount, because see, normally we split the cost 40, they pay 45% of all the dispatch costs, 911 does. So they're wanting to add one, basically to have on some additional shifts, 2 dispatchers. Well, we don't feel like the county, for our responsibility is that we need to have 2 on some of those other shifts. So if the 911 feels like they want to do that and pay 100% of it, we'll work that out.
Because the majority of the calls are 911 calls, correct?
Well, I won't say the majority, no,
Okay. All right.
no, but
But they're able to handle what they're able to
yeah,
handle.
for
With the
just, if
5.
it's just sheriff's department stuff, one person can handle all the shifts. Currently, we have, in the evening shift, they have 2 dispatchers. And by getting an additional 6th dispatcher, then on Saturday and Sunday day shift, they would have 2, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, day shift. That's basically what, if they hire an additional person, that's where they would have them, Friday through Tuesday on day shift. So, and the 911 board meets Friday, and we'll talk about it and see where that goes.
Carl,
Yes.
what about the negotiations with the city for combining dispatch? Are we close? Are they gonna take a look at that and see what figures need to be? How close are we to supplying the city with the figure that they want?
I was talking to Nanette the other day, and I said, let's wait till after the election.
Then I will let
There's
the
a lot
mayor.
of, there's a lot of stuff going on up there, and there could be a new sheriff.
That's fine, I just
And I
wanted to
think-
know, I just don't want,
Yeah,
I didn't want the mayor thinking, Boyd hasn't called me.
yeah,
Okay, so,
Yeah, push them a little to give us some information.
yeah, I
And that's-
just wanna make sure they think
Right.
we're not ditching them or
Yeah.
anything, okay? And of course, we're talking about a new, leader or at least coordinator for 911 sometime next year, correct?
correct,
So
right.
our thoughts on that ought to be
Yep.
made known. Anything else, Carl?
When we had our meeting there a week or 2 ago, someone brought up on the sheriff's budget about staff food.
Yes.
So when the sheriff was here, we asked him about that, and I think it was finally determined that they're not buying food for the people that work there to eat. It's just like when they travel, like they had to go to Atlanta here sometime last year to pick up prisoners. Well, they obviously have to eat, and if they're doing an investigation out of the county, if they eat out, that's basically what it's for when they're on the travel out of the county. If they have to buy food to eat, that's where that comes from.
Augie, you may send them our travel policy, because they should adhere to the, I mean, they're very specific, the
Is it?
state, about how you reimburse and all that, and they need to follow that policy,
Okay. I
okay?
don't know that I've
And
ever
that way
seen
we
that.
stay
Right.
good,
Yeah, okay.
all right? I mean, it's not an onus, it just puts caps and
Right. Yeah.
it gives guidance to how you do it, the receipts and so forth, okay?
You want that sent to the sheriff?
Yes,
Okay.
and Derek,
And Derek. Okay.
yes. Sorry, Carl.
And I guess Jay too, cause
Oh, yeah,
he sends his people out of the county, you know, on transport, so just make sure they're all aware of it.
Got it.
and
Pass it to the people that need to know,
Right.
the administrators.
and it's based on receipt, okay? I do have one thing to add, Carl.
Yeah.
The sheriff called me Thursday or Friday last week, and they want to initiate, and I also talked to Derek about this, initiate a program where they all have cell phones, so they can communicate if there's issues.
I mean, who has cell phones?
Everybody, pretty much.
The whole department,
Yeah. So they
a
want to
county
use.
owned telephone versus have to use their own personal.
Right, and that way, I mean, I'm bringing this up now, I didn't tell them yes, no, or maybe.
Right.
If the cost of that would be about $3,000 to $4,000 a year. And that way, if something's foible, I mean, everything's tied to that in the use by them. So I wanted to tell you guys so that you could ask questions. If we need to further explore this, we can.
So they don't wanna use their own phones.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, I'm lucky I can carry one, let alone have two of them.
I think these are questions that we probably need to
And I would,
pull somebody in to talk about,
yeah,
okay?
because they want private one, I mean, I guess not private, but public ones,
Right.
because they don't want their private information to be voyable.
Right,
Makes sense.
that's
Yes, I
part of
see
it,
that.
yeah.
I get it,
No, it's-
Yeah.
especially now. I've got two phones all the time and you better not do anything on the wrong phone.
I even split my email, I got business email and personal email, works a lot better. Well, maybe, I'll see if we can't get one of the boys in here tomorrow to kind of explain the thing in, if they can. I mean, we're not talking a great deal of money, but it is a pretty big step, so, okay? Go ahead, Carl.
Well, yeah, cause I wanna talk to him about overtime. You know, for the last several years, you know, just the overtime on the road deputies has been just bumping up, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why it was going. And I got to thinking the other day, I think part of it is going to these different shifts, you know, going from 8 hours, then, what, 3 or 4 years ago, they went to 10 hours, and now they're at 12 hours.
Right.
Well, think how many days off they get. You know, some of them, they're probably getting close to 40 days off a week, about a year. Some of the long-term road deputies, well, every time a deputy takes off, someone has to fill that shift. And it's always at overtime. And I got to thinking, on 8 deputies, that's close to $40,000 a year. Just
to cover a shift, not over.
going from, just the additional hours, yeah.
Just to cover a shift, not
The
actual.
additional hours.
Right.
Those 4 hours every day, each day they have off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not the, you know,
At a scene where you have to stay a few hours, or stay on,
Right.
do stuff.
but just
to fill.
because, you know, when they're going from 8 to 12, I mean, they still get that day off. But when you have to fill that shift, instead of filling that 8-hour shift, you're filling the 12 hour.
Why don't
So-
we just have a meeting at the end?
Well, we need to talk about that. I mean, I understand that, but, you know, it's costing, you know, going to these extra long shifts, $40,000. Just for that one thing. So we need to talk about it, you know, because they said that they're gonna evaluate it at the end of the year. And, you know, that's just something, you know, there's a cost to it, additional cost. So that, you know, like I say, I was trying to figure out how, why does it just keep getting more and more? And it just hit me the other day, and I put the pencil to it and saw what it was. And, you know, they also have 12 sick days too, you know, you just, it all adds up. So anyway, we need to talk about that.
Well,
Seemed like there was another thing or two, but I don't remember now what it was as far as the sheriff's department.
I know Friday isn't good for you, but it's Monday, Tuesday, is that soon enough?
Are you gonna try to get somebody there tomorrow, either Derek or the sheriff?
Well, we can, but
Well-
talking about,
What was the other thing? we were
the
doing?
other thing was the radios, or the
Okay.
cell phones.
Why don't we just have a separate
That's what I
meeting?
thought, it just,
Yeah.
Friday's probably not good for you, is it?
Probably not.
All right. So
And I
Monday
know
or go ahead.
Adams had some concerns on radio stuff, and I wanna talk to him about that.
Okay,
I mean, I've talked to him, but we need to talk to him as a group.
so would 9 o'clock be better considering the dew, or, and you don't have animals
that's
anymore?
fine.
Well, you have animals, but
you know.
does
Yeah.
9 o'clock work for you? Okay, on Monday or Tuesday next week, 18th or 19th, I think?
Actually, no, I'm out. I'm gonna be gone Monday. I'm coming back for this, that. Or no,
Oh, that's the 18th.
That's the 18th, right. But I'm gonna be gone Sunday and Monday. I mean.
Oh, that's right.
Cause that's, yeah,
Hang on.
I'll be gone Sunday and Monday, and I'm coming back from Joliet early in the morning, so I can be here at 9 o'clock for that.
Yeah, well,
So I can do it.
that'd have to be Wednesday, because it can't be the 18th, or it could be in the afternoon on the 18th.
Well, how long is that gonna take?
About 4.5, until noon or 1
Oh.
o'clock.
I mean, I could do it in the afternoon, I'll
Is that
just,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just do it Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday, depending on the,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
All right.
And then Adam, are you gonna be at the 911 meeting Friday? I know you said you were talking to the radio people, are they gonna be coming down,
They're
or?
not coming until the November meeting.
Okay.
Putting some numbers together to have
Well-
a full presentation that we can give them.
But can you brief us what you're talking about, so that the rest of the 911 board can be
Okay.
thinking about it, and maybe if they need to check with some of the smaller fire departments on the radio situation, let them know what's coming up. That's it.
That's it?
Here.
Okay, I'm sure this will be interesting.
It should be.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Hi. I will admit I'm having a little challenge juggling everything these days. The East event is Chamber of Commerce has moved their meetings to, I didn't get an exact answer, but I'm assuming it's monthly. But the second Tuesday at noon, meal included. So, I can't do it today on short notice, but otherwise I'll plan on being back down here for chamber meetings. And I did encourage them, of course, to attend our meetings, and I thank them for remembering to invite me, because a lot of what we talk about directly affects businesses. So I will definitely make it a point to go to their meetings. And Augie, I was not on the same wavelength as your email about putting on the agenda the solar, to make sure that we had it in our minutes that we had actually approved. And so he emailed me yesterday, and I just need to tell him that that's on our agenda for tomorrow.
Jeff and I talked about it,
Yeah.
we just put it on
For
to,
some
Oh,
reason,
I was thinking the current one I'm struggling with, forgetting that we still had, we
The
had
one on
not
the table.
officially approved.
that's the one we
The
put on
first
just
one.
for remembrance.
Yeah, so thank you.
And I don't know about a second one, so
Oh.
that's not even on the obviously it's not
Yeah,
on
that
the
was on
agenda.
my mind, and
Okay.
sometimes I have to let it fester in there before I really get in gear on it. And this second solar farm, and Jeff's aware, he's just trying to convince me that that their project, doesn't meet the specifications that require them to adhere to our ordinance. And so, they're calling it community, the first folks call it community, it's less than 30 acres, the first one was less than 30 acres, I'm like, are you just trying to pull the wool over me or what? So I did talk to, a couple of individuals yesterday who said, please don't mention my business name. And so they explained to me the difference between whether you're hooking up to a transmission line, in this case, an Ameren, as retail or wholesale. And retail and it's up to Ameren to determine this, not the solar project, that if it's retail, then it would be like, going into Interstar. That's retail, you know exactly where it's going, they're paying you specifically for your energy. As opposed to if it's wholesale and it's just part of Ameren. So I emailed him back yesterday and said, prove it. So I'm waiting for him to prove it one way or another. So now that I know that it's actually Ameren that's gonna determine that, not him, now I have a little better understanding of what's going on. So, and he wanted it done by November, and I said, no,
Always have a,
probably not.
well, if they make it.
If they get it, right, if they give me the required documentation, which I may have to take to this third party to say, can you interpret it? Then we can have that on the November agenda,
Yeah, we've got two options there.
yeah. But again, every time I do something with solar or wind, I learn something.
There's a company that wants to put in the solar.
Yeah, and it's not a big one, it's like 25 acres, and I didn't ask, they didn't tell me where, we're not to that point, but he was just saying he didn't think the ordinance restrictions would apply to them. I was
Well,
thinking,
wait,
well,
Well,
it depends
that's
on
what
whether
we
it's
did.
retail or wholesale. So, okay, that's all I have on solar, and of course, the other part of my county board life has to do with the public health department. And Gary wrote a nice article that told part of the story. So the rest of it, though, where do you want me to go with that one, then, Jeff?
Well, I mean, we don't have a whole lot more to add at this point.
We don't really.
We've reached out to Bellwether. Bellwether is gonna reach out to the health department. We'll find out tomorrow morning where that all sits. And we'll be able to tell you more tomorrow at the meeting. The contract that you saw in there has nothing to do with that situation. This is a continuation of the current contract we're in. We have a retainer for them to help us, and they help us almost monthly with numerous issues, including one issue that we've gotta get on the agenda too is the personnel policy. At any rate, and that's $500 a month, and we're renewing that so that they're available on HR questions throughout the year. The other one, we'll find out what that contract looks like probably tomorrow morning, okay?
A separate one for the health department, okay.
For when they do a deeper dive and, yeah.
It's almost, I wouldn't wanna call it forensic, but it's fairly in-depth, okay? And it's meant to make sure, dot all the i's, cross all the t's, and make sure that we've done our due diligence, and they have done their due diligence on all the solutions.
And to identify all costs, because some are a little more hidden than others.
Right. And they've already started. They've already, I was at the treasurer's office this morning, and they've already asked, and the treasurer has already responded to some of their requests. They're not waiting for a contract, they're not worried about that, okay?
Yeah, and so we know we're gonna need a another or more specially called meetings for the health board. And we'll find out from Bellwether tomorrow, when is it time for another meeting? Because I really don't know. But our meetings are gonna be monthly now, and I had explained that was due to the issue that we'd had that aha moment about approving bills after the fact. And I think really, it won't hurt to meet monthly.
Is there a problem with the contract on the shed they put in the back? Somebody said there was I forget what it was, somebody supposed to contract to build it and they went to somebody else. Ever mentioned the meeting?
Yes, it was discussed in a meeting at the July meeting that it was inappropriately handled and that Monica was supposed to contact Veters to apologize for any miscommunication.
Okay.
Which they haven't.
Okay.
And
We got
as
so
of
carried.
2 weeks ago, they
Okay,
haven't.
we got carried away with our new issues and that
Right.
kind of, but it is in the minutes. It is in the minutes.
Yeah.
What was the cost of the building? You have any idea? Anything over 30,000 has to be put out for bid, doesn't it?
It was a tick over 30.
But it should have been put out for bid.
It should have been,
That's what I was told. It was just a hair over 30.
I'd have to go back and look.
I just wondered, somebody mentioned it.
Yeah, that purchase was made prior to May.
Remind me about that in the morning. Please, or, I mean, I'll try to share the question, Carl. Okay.
No, it's,
I don't think I have any more to state on that
That
topic.
was never brought up in a meeting, was it? When I was there, it was never brought up, so I just wondered. About the shed or building, anything about it, why it was being built. It's minor compared to what's going on now, so
Yeah,
I just thought,
I
just heard about it, so.
it was not discussed, I don't believe it was discussed in the May meeting.
I
And
didn't read it back.
and I think it was in the July because Scott Ingram's the one who really
Okay.
called the.
I just know when I was on the board, it was never brought up. Of course, that's been a while ago, so
Mhm.
I just wondered.
Anything else, or Lisa?
before I forget it, sometime I want to, not during any meetings, sit down with you and explain about overtime, because you questioned when we were talking about the budget, why adding another person would,
Yeah,
I can explain it to you,
okay,
and so you can maybe understand it better.
yeah, that one escapes me, so that's great.
You know, because, you know, like in Augie's office, if someone takes a day off, you know, you don't call, no one comes in to replace them. But at the sheriff's department, anytime anybody's off, they're filling a shift, you gotta have someone come in. So I'll sit down and explain it to you, and
Because you think adding one person to the mix, but it doesn't work that way.
Well, there's no historic data to support that. All right. Let's talk about the budget. What you have is the latest version. The numbers don't all, I don't know how you wanna go through it. We could go through part of it now and part of it in 2 weeks. Okay, how's that sound? We'll go through our budget first. The other departments, basically, that aren't part of Fund 100, submit their budget, like highway and public health, all submit their budgets, so you'll find more. So let's start with the general fund, and this would be the revenue portion of it. You notice that the first column is actual 21, then you've got 22 actual, and then the current budget, and then the proposed budget. I know you guys can read, but I want to make sure everybody's on that. Now, first of all, that $990 $9,967,000 will be transferred into another fund. This is a pass-through, and so it's listed there. Now we start moving into different items that are actual income or revenue. So if you go down the list, I have adjusted down. Do you want to go through it, each line item, or do you have any questions as we go down the list? You'll notice that some of the state income, for example, supplemental sales tax, income tax, and personal property tax really have taken a steep increase. And just to make sure, the personal property tax, which is $41.60, I cut 90 grand out of that. I think we're still gonna get it, but just in case. Carl, you brought that up at the last meeting that we had, and we cut that back. For example, we just got a check for $90-some thousand for the month. So it's gonna, when you take a look at this again, it's gonna not be $395, it's gonna be $485 plus. So that's, and we've still got, let's see, I know we've got, it's hard to understand, but we've got November to come in yet, plus we've got 3 months on the accrual basis that we've still got coming in. See, we're getting right now August funds, or I'm sorry, July funds. We've still got August, September, October, and November. So we've got 4 months left to come in. That's how accrual works. Because they collect that tax in 1 month, it's gotta be paid to the state in the next month. It takes them another month to process it, and then we get it the 4th month, if that makes sense to you. So all of these figures that you see under the actual on state funds still represents 3 months behind, okay?
And please define personal property again. That is not local personal property, that's a state fund that gets sent back, gets divvied between the counties.
Yeah, Augie, you got a better handle on it?
That's it, it's just, we pay into the Department of Revenue, and then, as does everybody else in the state, and then they divvy it up accordingly.
Okay, so this is not Edgar County people, this is just our portion of this state.
That's correct.
And how does that get determined?
I don't,
Some archaic, bizarre formula, okay.
Then little guys or gals sitting in a room up in a cubicle about half nuts.
Which one is that?
I think they look at board composition and see who they like and don't like.
That's 4160 is the one we were just talking about. Now, you've noticed, go
That's
ahead.
the reimbursement we got from the state about a month ago.
I don't know what I'm sorry.
Something about, you got $50 a piece, and then you got some more based on tax. You remember that? You didn't get put in your checking account or check in the mail?
Oh, that's a different thing.
That's different.
That's
Okay.
totally
So
different.
this
That's,
has nothing to do with that?
no, it has
Okay.
nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Would like to show you that under sheriff's salary reimbursement, that is a new line item. So far this year, they, based on our P-tax turned in, we're collecting about $3,800 a month. But notice that the $77,250 there represents what we will be getting in towards the sheriff's salary, because the sheriff's salary will be going up to roughly $116,000. Also, in the same vein, probation officers, we were budgeted this past year at 186, but they're jumping us up to 234,000. That's an actual figure that's already been approved and allotted. So that's quite an increase. Let's see, some of the others go up slightly, yes.
Sorry, so on the probation, it's not like the sheriff though, that they didn't jack their salary up, they just increased their percentage of reimbursement.
Yes,
Or-
but they did send us an extra, they gave an increase mid-year of about $10,000, of which they turned around and sent us 10 grand. So salaries is a big portion of what we're getting reimbursed for, and that has increased.
And you
But
said the
not like-
salaries are set by the state for probation officers?
Yep.
But they didn't get that large jump that the
Oh,
sheriffs
no,
did?
no. In fact, you'll be able to see it in their actual budget in here. Let's see, we're amending the 4260 because you'll see we've got extra money that's come in this year. But part of that is because of the plan, the hazardous mitigation plan. That will actually grow. We're gonna put more money in it because the actual study costs 43, plus we've got 21. So we're amending that budget to correct that. And that's what's on the agenda. Let's see. Oh, I was saying like, the state's attorney and the supervisor of assessments, the amount of reimbursement creeps up every year a little bit because it's based on a percentage that they pay us of their salaries. Again, all the fees, we just kind of project on what the history is and the trends are. Sometimes we do real good and sometimes we don't. A couple of years ago, we had a huge portion of ground sell down south. And, well, I don't know whether it was sold, but it was transferred. And that netted us, what, 40, 50,000 bucks just in that transaction. So you never can plan on those. But we try not to then extrapolate the following year that we're taking an extra 50 grand in, so we're gonna increase the budget like that. You can't do that, so. 4315, percentage distribution circuit clerk. We went to 0 on that because those funds changed and we're not getting that anymore. Transfers, I don't know that there's a whole lot really to tell you more than what, just as you go down the list and see if you've got a question about it.
Federal lease program reimbursement.
That's from them helping, they have stuff that we take the response, and he transfers it to us,
That makes sense.
okay? We've obviously increased interest on CDs. And that could be money market funds too. It just depends on how it's invested.
What's the DCEO grant?
Yeah, that's it too.
That's the one for the courthouse.
The air conditioners.
Right.
Okay.
They're in the process of working on it. We're not gonna receive that to next year, so I put it in this next year. It's a one-time shot, Carl.
Mhm.
Transfers from the different funds. Now, one of the things that we've done away with, you'll notice under the sheriff's department, when we get to it, income no longer has the income or transfer of the safety tax. The safety tax comes into the transfer for reimbursement, okay? So that's where that is. And then there's other reimbursements that we get from some of the other programs, like the program from the CARES Act. That's where that all gets dumped in.
So 4999, the 877,000.
About 700,000 would be from the safety, and the rest would be from CARES. Now we go into are we done for the time? And we can discuss this again, and again if we need to, okay? Expenses. Miscellaneous, we always run into some miscellaneous, but we didn't budget for it this time. Clark County Public Defender no longer is a deal. Bank fees, okay, capital improvement. That would, in land purchase, that would include anything that we would purchase as to replace the current building that the treasurer and so forth is in. It also includes the work that's taking place in the courthouse, and then extra funds in for other projects. Okay? Transfer out for courthouse, that is what we do to catch up with what we should be doing on the pavement for bonds. And we've been doing that for what, 3 or 4 years now, maybe 5, Carl?
Yes.
And then Smart Watt, you see that we've got that. And if you go back up for a second to 4805, above that, back in income, you'll notice that the health department reimburses part of that 72.4 with 27.5. That's their share of what was done. Then you got courthouse match, that's a catch-all. Jail study, it was going to 0, that's all under the bond fund. GATA administration, we haven't spent a whole lot of, we didn't spend anywhere near 40, so we dropped that to 25, and that's the coordination that Josh does. Okay? And GATA is a big deal because GATA is basically a formula that the state uses that we have to keep up with. And that if we don't do things the right way, it shuts down any reimbursement for any grant or anything that we have coming in from the state. If we forget paperwork, for example, if the highway forgot to do some paperwork, we wouldn't get grants and neither would the health department. Okay, it shuts down everybody. So it's better to have one coordinator and they're right on top of it. Then we got, just interrupt me anytime you need to.
So anything goes through him? I mean,
Yes.
he's notified of anything, not that so that it goes through him, but he's notified.
He's
That way
notified,
he can
he
keep
can
track.
make the corrections, he can call up somebody and say, where's this paperwork? Well, I sent it in. Well, they don't have it. Well, then, you know.
Let's, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay, then we got Augie's budget. Augie's here to defend himself if anybody wants to take a shot at him. Of course, a great deal of the increase comes from the county clerk salary, which we set, what, last year? And it goes into effect this year, or this coming year. It may look like we increased some of the salaries, the hourly rates for deputies already this past year, so we're gonna finish very close, but part of that increase has already been made, and then whatever else he feels should be done next year, then that accommodates that in the 125,580. Elections, we've got one election this coming year, Augie?
Yes, that's correct. But we may have some extra expense with that
Well,
also.
Of course,
And I
we
think we
got the
talked about that.
mailings,
Yeah,
the feds, they did, I don't know whether it's called a purge or what is it called, where you have to send out something, they have to send something back, and they're talking about doing it annually, but we don't know.
right. Purge is usually done on the off year. And, but the new law in Illinois with the vote by mail, permanent vote by mail project, you mail everybody out an application, and some you get back and most you don't. And there's talk like they're gonna make us do that all the time now.
They are, Like one-time deal.
Well, that's the way I understand it. So they're gonna, our association is gonna try to, talk about that in the veto session coming up. So it's,
And you said some you get back, some you don't.
yeah, we send out 12,000 postcards and we might get 1,000 back. And of that 1,000, X number of those are undeliverable.
So
So
you mean get back, you don't, they don't.
they just don't send them back. Some people get them in the mail and they just look at it and they throw it away.
They're supposed to send it back?
Well, not by law.
Not by law, that's optional, but
I don't even recall getting it.
I got one.
I got
Yeah.
it.
I got it.
one too.
Tossed it in the man, or
yeah,
Was I wrong?
file 69.
That's a personal choice.
that's a
Okay,
personal
that's what I
choice.
thought.
Yeah, no, we're mandated to send it out.
Right.
This program cost us $9,000 to do that. And the dollar value of what we've received that is what we call good applications. I don't, we probably have 600-700 that are what we call good, if that. And so the return on investment from a financial standpoint is really pretty bad.
Kinda like voting in the off years. The primary is what we pay per vote. It's
Yep.
just,
But you gotta do it.
okay. Next is the treasurer. Sorry. The treasurer's salary is increased, as was the clerk's. The big difference in that one is putting in a payroll line item, which is 5045 for 25 grand. In case about half year, we decide that we want to put in an HR person. Okay? So, I think at this point, everybody thinks that that's where it's gonna rest, is under the treasurer. So, because they're gonna be handling payroll and HR and all that stuff. We probably will be able to fund part of it, the HR out of tort. Not a great deal, but some, because it keeps us out of trouble. And it's training, and all of the training can fall under tort, okay? So that's predominantly between those two items, accounts for most of the increase. The circuit clerk. Again, she is up some, but part of the money on payroll, part of the 20 grand increase has already been put into effect. That's why if we had 140, it's probably like 150 gonna spend this year. So, and of course she's had, it may not be that bad because she has had some vacancies, so it may not be as bad this year.
And then we'll have to remember for next year to increase that salary for the circuit clerk because it'll be an election year, right?
The circuit clerk, who else? Augie,
Coroner
coroner?
and the state's
State's
attorney's
attorney.
on that cycle also.
So do we, for those that are the other year, would that increase then automatically be the same as what the ones that we increased this year are?
That's to be determined. Now, in, for example, Augie's, it said how much year one, how much year two, how much year three, how much year four, okay? And then what we do for the others that are in the off year, just depends on economics and what we feel is fair.
Yeah, and you might have to do like that study you did, for all them.
Well, because that's what I'm thinking,
Right.
what I would come up with would theoretically be a little bit higher
Yeah, you
for
would
year
think.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wouldn't necessarily put it so that they're apples to
Yeah.
apples on the start of their election term.
Correct. next is supervisor of assessment. That's, her salary is, I put a little extra in there because we're gonna be negotiating with her for a new contract starting January 1. So I don't see that, well, it would all go starting December 1 to her, but there's additional funds if we need them for flexibility in her contract.
January of next, not 2024.
23 is
Oh.
when she's,
Oh, so,
23.
right, soon.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
drawing up a contract for us to modifying what she currently has, and she does plan on staying.
How, is it a 4-year?
4 year, I think,
4 year.
4 or 5 year, maybe it's 5. Okay. And again, some of her deputies were given increases to bring them up to $15 this year, as well as the other departments, so part of that is already the increase in the budget for last year, or the year we're in, doesn't really tell the whole story of where we're at. Because you can see right now, she's at 91 against 94, and I'll guarantee we've got 3 payrolls left. So she's gonna exceed that. But I think she's gonna be all right on the total year. Probation, there you can see probation. And remember, they're reimbursing us of the 234,000.
I've got a doctor's appointment.
Good luck.
All right.
Take
Just
care.
routine.
Okay.
You take care.
All right.
Then we got state's attorney salary. We did bump up the assistant state's attorney from 63 to 70 to try to be more competitive. State's attorney part-time. Everything else is pretty much where you would expect. Any questions on state's attorney?
Foreign witness fees.
People from that aren't United States citizens.
That aren't, I mean, that's a fluke thing, almost, right?
Yep.
Strange that you got that in
Yep.
there, separate.
Now, the circuit court's pretty much what the judges give us. I don't normally touch that. Then you got the sheriff's budget, and you notice that
This is the revised one that you read.
it is revised since we talked
Okay.
and met with.
What was the increase in the sheriff's salary next year? Pretty good bump, isn't it?
Basically from 70 grand to 116.
That's state.
Per state
mandate?
law.
Okay, that's.
And they're chunking in the difference, correct?
Okay. Well, they probably deserve it.
By the way, they are going to increase the deputies, I'm sorry, the part-time deputies to almost 25.
That's good,
Okay?
because he talked like we could get some. They paid more, otherwise you're going elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But notice that we've got about $105,000 increase. A lot of that, or some of that is eaten up by the sheriff's increase. Let's see, 70 to, that's 34,000 of the increase is just for the sheriff's salary alone. No, 46,000 is the sheriff's alone, okay? And then, we increased the budget for correctional officers by about 35,000, so between the two of those, 47 and 35, 82,000. 82,000 in that increase of the 105. We've had to increase sheriff's food, like everybody else, we're paying more for that. We've got gas that we budgeted 35,000 last year, and we're already at 50. And we're probably we increased that to 50 grand. So there's 15, so it was at 82, 92, that's 97 of the increase we can account for in 1, 2, 3, 4 items. So
Please tell me again on expenses line 5,000, who all is included in administrative?
that would be the sheriff, the chief deputy, the jailer, the jail administrator, and the administrative assistant to the sheriff. Okay, next we have the public defender, increased by about 5,000. Public defender salary, his increase in about 12 grand. Staff, a grand. Rent stays the same. Fixtures dropped because we're renting him the space. They provide him with all his fixtures. Board of review, that's a assessment line department, and it covers the actual costs of having the board of review meet once or twice a year, and the expenses therefore. Next, county board, and remember we changed for the newly elected board members. Their monthly increase, or at least the chairman did, and then a month, or meetings went from 35 to 50. And we also increased the travel expense, because last year travel expense per mile was about $53.50 roughly, and now it's $62.50. So that's basically a 12 or 13% increase. Animal shelter, I'd like to remember we increased the administrator of the animal shelter mid-year last year. So that takes up part of that increase from 30,600 up to 36,700. I can't remember exactly what we increased, but
Can you, $2 an hour or something?
yeah,
like that?
something like that. As the coordinator, we've increased the hours by 5 hours a week, and her assistant, I think, 2 hours a week. Other than that, there's no increases, that's all they wanted. It's just few more hours to get the work done. Let's see. So. Okay, next is the airport. Pretty straightforward. Let's see where the increases are. The big problem we've got at the airport is electrical. We've got a lot of energy being used out there, and it's almost doubled. About 40%, 50%.
In usage or cost?
Cost.
Cost.
That down, Amron. Never mind,
And Ameren has just gone from
Amron.
like,
Yeah.
what, 8 cents to 15 cents? It's just nuts.
Doubled.
Yeah. Have you noticed any, are you on Ameren?
Yeah.
It is, yeah, it's going up. Okay, janitorial or, so we're back now on, building and grounds. We get a check from the building and grounds, the risk deal goes of 6,000 goes in to that, and we try to expend that on projects at the courthouse, right?
Yes.
Okay. See the different items there. Now, would like to point out that on the top of the page, 7,005, where we got 114,000 used, there was an error on the coding on that, and we're gonna reverse that, and about 33,000 is coming out of there and going into this third page under, make sure I got it right, under capital improvements. So we're in pretty good shape on the budget. We'll be a little over, but nothing major. And then we've got the administrative portion where administrative reimbursements, that comes from the highway department and the health department all reimburse, and 911 for certain things on public or employee benefits. And then HSA, an opt-out, same way. Notice the SIPS bill, we budgeted 45 and we're already at 71. So we're experiencing the same issues that the airport is. Medical insurance is basically virtually staying the same. Now, there's a couple of things in here. For example, 80-25, where it's showing us almost 100,000 against 50. That's because the accrual hasn't taken place and that money will be subtracted. Okay? So we'll be back down to about 50 grand for the year, or 40, whatever it is, 40 grand. Regional superintendent, that stays about the same. Property tax, okay. The financial systems and all that, again, we're at 72, but there'll be accrued out about 29,000 out of that. But I still increase the budget because we have to pay for the payroll somewhere. And that'll be some additional costs. So we budgeted 80 in there.
You got the labor negotiations.
Yeah, oh, I missed that, I'm sorry.
No, but I just wondered, little 3,500, the next year, that's 23,
Yeah, it may not be enough, I
that
don't know.
probably won't be enough, because we'll start
But notice the next item, I've increased contingencies from 10 to 35.
Good.
I guess I can shove some of that up in there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think we're gonna have as difficult a time this coming year, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. There's more money for them, I think.
Why don't you tell the camera that? I often forget
I
the
said
same
they
damn thing. I'm not real smart sometimes either. Alright, let's see, we got. I don't know what that is. There's a miscellaneous in here we've gotta get adjusted out. That was from a couple of years ago in 21, so don't pay any attention to that. Then you got the coroner. He's actually dropped because we don't have any rental, okay? And then we got, then we got, information, her IT. And we don't show any income there. And then we've got some payroll increase. We've also got a part-time person working now, young man who's doing real well. And of course, hardware, software, leases and everything else have really, really increased. So, we're up to 131.
What's a lease expense?
Well,
Oh, some of the stuff that, okay.
printers, stuff like that. And then Joseph Meyer, we always just budget 5 in and 5 out. And then we'll do the other, take a look at the other budgets, but I'm gonna skip you back, I've gotta get to the right page. Okay, I wanna skip to page 59. There, we're talking about the county farm fund. Although this is an 800 item, we split some of them out and make a budget for them. And you'll notice farm rent, death certificate income, hangar rent, state reimbursements. We're expecting that much in state reimbursements this year. Grants and other revenues, that has to do with major construction projects at the airport. Then project engineering and miscellaneous, real estate taxes on the farm ground, because if we rent it out for that type of use, we have to pay taxes on the ground. Debt certificate, principal and interest payments. Maintenance of runway, okay, transfer out, that is to the general fund for its portion of what it pays. And so you can see that we're talking about a pretty sizable amount of $471,000 because we've got 2 projects running next year instead of 1. We have been told, and we'll find out more information about it at 1 o'clock today, but the feds have come up with a new, well, the FAA has come up with a new program giving this airport, I don't know whether it's given the same to other airports, probably, depending on how big you are, another $100,000 a year for 5 years to augment construction projects. And we're gonna find out more of that, about that, but that'll start coming our way soon.
Question for you, how come the government payments are so much lower, anticipated lower this year? The first line on soil survey.
Okay. Oh, government payments.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a $31,000 reimbursement for costs for CARES for the airport. It was a separate item. In other
Okay.
words, they ask us for what we spent between this point and this point, and then they reimbursed us for it. We're not getting that.
Okay, so that's not like farm ground CCC payments,
The
okay.
$9 grand we're gonna get is from reimbursement from a portion of the money we collect in taxes for selling fuel.
Okay.
So we're gonna start getting that every year. We got that this year we're in for the first time. So that's why this is 9, you know. So we've got about 31,000 from the CARES Act for airports only, and then 87 or 8,600 in fuel taxes reimbursed.
Who farms land out there at the airport?
Oh, there's a couple, Brad Tucker and Gary Dyer and his dad.
Just wondering.
Let's see, okay, then on page 62, this is Dina's fund, which is Geographic Information Systems. And you'll notice how much we get in per year. We're using a surplus carryover because we've got a flight here that's gonna cost us about 49 grand. We didn't do one last year, or the year we're currently in. So that's kind of a new increase. We're gonna start flying every 2 years, give us better information. Then on page 63, you got Augie's funds, his election funds, and it kinda shows you what we've got coming in and what we've got going out. And, voter registration expense was what Augie was talking to you about a little bit ago. Let's see, population. Okay, recover, okay, on page 69, at the bottom, you'll see the federal recovery funds. And don't pay attention to the drainage district, that's just a catalog number. Shows you interest coming in, surplus carryover, there's a little over 2.5 million. And transfer in, I'm not sure where that's gonna come from, I can't remember. But at any rate, we've got expenses, eligible expenses of 100 grand, courthouse roof, elevator, architectural engineering, and construction manager, showing you where we're at on that fund. Probably won't spend all of that, but it's in there in case we need it. Any questions on that fund? And then public safety tax is at the bottom of the page, and it shows you interest coming in, which is probably conservative, surplus carried forward from the previous years, and it's actually probably more than that, but we didn't have an exact amount. And then it's got eligible expenses, bond issue, interest payment. We only have one payment due, and that's in May. And the next payment after that is due December 1st, and that'll be in 24's budget. Then it's got, let's see, transfer out, and that would be to the share, or to the general fund, for reimbursable items eligible in the general fund. More specifically, the sheriff's department. So you can see we'll have some left, and of course we'll have other things that may come up from time to time. Then we've got the jail project fund. Notice interest, surplus carryover, which is the proceeds from the bonds, and then eligible expenses. And we use the latest estimate that we got from our architects. And construction costs are not complete there, but that
That's the
gets us.
amount for that year.
Yeah.
23.
We budgeting 10,147,500, and that's what we got expenses for, with the zero coming out of it. Okay, then we've got the retirement funds on page 74. Those are based on history and what we get a sheet from them every year saying what they're gonna want percentages, and it has gone down for the last couple of years. IMRF. So we'll wind up with a little surplus there. FICA. We're there. And then tort has really grown in the amount of money we spend, but insurance has gone up everywhere. So we've got 550 coming in, and we got at least 500, or yeah, 500 coming out. So got about a $50,000 surplus there. And then we got other budgets, but that gets us through our budgets this time. I wondered if you guys would take a look at some of the other budgets, like highway, the health budget, and so forth, and see what you have questions on and what you think we ought to do. We still have, and we're gonna have to discuss soon, about how we're going to handle the health department budget, whether we're gonna increase the levy or not. Right now, it doesn't show an increase, so I guess we're just kind of holding off to make that determination. We can talk about it at the next study session in 2 weeks. Any thoughts or comments?
They headway on the dentist, do you know?
That didn't come up.
They've increased, for headhunter purposes, they've increased starting salary to live 170,000. They've increased it a couple of times with no interest, and so the directive this last time was 170,000 for starting salary. And that was at our July meeting.
They don't work full-time though, do they? Dentist?
I believe he would be.
170,000 they should.
Well, they work,
Yeah.
I think, 4 days a week.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
one.
considered full-time.
Okay.
How are the licensing fees determined?
I don't know,
That also include,
Cause mine doubled.
yeah,
yeah.
It went up 100% over last year.
Did she owe the health department?
Huh?
Did she owe the health department?
25 to 250. I'm just curious. I would think you guys.
It's gonna be a question that we ought to ask, is are these things legally being passed?
I think we did talk about that at the last meeting. Not the special meeting, the July meeting. I don't know that I have
Well,
the
it's,
minutes with me for that meeting. Here it is. Food permit category 1. Yeah,
Wow,
double.
double.
but when was that enacted?
Proposed for September 21st meeting. But what we focused on was the cottage mobile food ordinance is what we focused on. And the only fees that went up were the food permits category 1, 2, and 3. Which,
Category 1. I think that's a little excessive. 100% increase in
yeah.
that. But, state obviously. feels the
increased,
same way.
the notes on here that I made were, their justification was that they were increasing the number of times they were gonna be inspecting you.
Oh, good.
That's just what I want.
And they did provide us with a grid of all of the surrounding areas, and they varied a lot. But
Has it been enacted or is it just proposed? because you've been to the last two meetings.
Right.
Didn't vote on it.
Oh, I believe it was just proposed.
Well, how can they bill people for it?
I need to find the minutes from, if she's put out the minutes from the September meeting.
Okay, all right. We're not picking on you, I'm sorry.
My focus was so not on this, I'm sorry.
You threw her a curveball, but
Well, I mean, my focus at that meeting,
I watched the meeting on
Between the state and the local and licensing, I'm about ready to jump.
the
My
Southern business.
liquor license went from, used to be $500, then it said $50, $900, now it's $1,200.
Oh, jeez.
when did we raise that?
No, my
Oh, with
state,
the state, I was gonna say, we
We
didn't
didn't
raise
raise
ours.
1,200.
1,200, that's one, I got two of them, the other one
Well,
was
heck, we had to
125.
jump on, no, just,
200, you did, what do you mean?
We need to raise ours.
I'm not ready to drop it one.
Much for liquor license.
No, the wineries haven't had a crop
okay, well, we
in
talked
5 years.
about some
That
of
might
this.
be wise.
Okay,
Suspended it.
let me
so
see what
whatever
else
you
I
guys-
got on the list. Jail, land, courthouse, farm, budget,
and I'm gonna
ambulance,
have to leave in a couple minutes.
county board of health, okay. I would point out that I did get a thing from Coles County stating that the loan for 30 years, which is $1 million more than we planned, would pay out at $815,570, which is about $100,000 plus than we were figuring, if we can get that. Well, we figured 900 would go to the bond payment, for 925, and about 600,000 to 700,000 would go to the sheriff's department. And that would equal what we're getting every year. This would drop that from 925 down to 815 at this point, and if we get approved, just to let you know what's going on. A lot of this stuff, I guess we can go over tomorrow. We're already at, we're at 11:10. We were gonna have a closed session, but we can have a closed session tomorrow morning, unless somebody thinks we need to do that today. It's up to you guys.
I'd kind of rather have it tomorrow after our breakfast meeting anyway.
It's to cover land acquisition and personnel. So, well, we gotta have we almost gotta have the land acquisition right now. I'm sorry, real quick. It's not much, because I wanna hear, and we've got on the agenda to purchase, ground tomorrow, and we're running out of time. So, I don't know, do you have anything really to tell us?
Maybe a little bit of information on it, but it won't take long if you wanna go into it for a minute.
Motion to go in just land for, Russ moves, Andy seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Session, okay, we're back in the open session, is there anything else to come before the meeting? Hearing none, motion to adjourn, Andy moves, Russ seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
I think I'm missing you.